I woke up at 3:47 a.m. to the sound of someone singing outside my window. A child's voice, high and sweet. But we lived 15 miles from the nearest neighbor, and the only child in our house was asleep in the room next to mine. I pulled back the curtain, nothing but fog and darkness. The singing stopped. Then I heard it again, closer this time, right beneath my window. Growing up in Appalachia isn't like growing up anywhere else. The mountains are old, older than memory, and some things in those hills, they don't follow the rules we're taught. They don't care what you believe, they just are. And if you're born there, you learn quickly. Some doors stay closed for a reason. Some paths aren't meant to be walked. And some sounds in the night you don't go looking for. My name doesn't matter. What matters is what I saw, what we all saw. 10 stories, 10 moments that still sit heavy in my chest. This is what it was really like, growing up where the mountains remember everything. Before you turn off the lights, hit subscribe and ring the bell. Here at Chills from Reality, every story leaves a mark, one you might not forget. The first time I understood fear, I was 7 years old. My grandmother lived at the end of a gravel road that wound through thick woods, pine and oak so dense the sunlight barely reached the ground. Her house was small, white paint peeling, a porch that sagged on one side. She'd lived there alone since my grandfather died. 50 years in those mountains, she knew things she wouldn't talk about in daylight. One afternoon in late October, I was playing in her yard. The air smelled like wood smoke and rotting leaves. I found a trail I'd never noticed before. It led into the trees, narrow, overgrown. But something about it pulled at me. Curiosity, the stupid kind that gets children hurt. I started walking. The woods grew darker with every step. The trees pressed in, the trail twisted and curved, and soon I couldn't see the house anymore. I should have turned back. I didn't. And then I saw it. A structure made of stacked stones and rotting wood. Like a small cabin, but wrong. The windows were too narrow, the door too low, and above the door, carved deep into the wood, symbols. Not letters. Not anything I recognized. I stepped closer. The air turned cold. My breath fogged. And from inside that structure, I heard breathing. Slow, wet, heavy. I ran! Branches whipped my face. My feet slipped on dead leaves. I didn't stop until I burst through the tree line and collapsed in my grandmother's yard. She was standing on the porch, arms crossed, face pale. She didn't ask what happened. She just said one thing. "You went to the stone house." I nodded, gasping for air. She walked down the steps, knelt in front of me. Her hands were shaking. "Don't ever go back there, you hear me? Some places, they're not for us. They belong to what was here before, and they're still there, waiting." I never saw that trail again, even when I looked for it years later. But sometimes, late at night, when the wind moves through those trees, I still hear that breathing. Would you have followed that trail? Or would you have known better? When I was 9, my cousin Ethan came to stay with us for the summer. He was from the city, didn't know the mountains, didn't respect them. He thought everything was a joke. The warnings, the superstitions, the old stories our parents told. He'd laugh and call us backwards. One night, we were sitting on the porch after dinner. The sun had just set, and the sky was bruising purple. My father was whittling a piece of cedar. My mother was rocking in her chair. Ethan was bored, kicking at the floorboards. "Why is it so quiet here?" he asked. My father didn't look up. "Mountains sleep early." "That's dumb," Ethan said. "It's just trees." My mother stopped rocking. She looked at him, really looked at him. And in a voice I'd never heard her use, she said, "Don't mock what you don't understand, boy." Ethan rolled his eyes. "Whatever, I'm going for a walk." "No," my father said, sharp, final. "Why not?" "Because after dark you don't walk these woods alone. Ethan laughed, stood up. I'm not scared of trees. He walked off the porch and into the tree line. My father stood, but my mother grabbed his arm. Let him learn, she whispered. We waited. 10 minutes. 20. The crickets started up. An owl called from somewhere deep in the hollow. And then we heard it. Screaming. Not Ethan. Not a person. Something else. High-pitched and guttural at the same time, like metal scraping bone. It echoed through the valley, bouncing off the ridges. My father grabbed a flashlight and a rifle, ran into the dark. My mother pulled me inside and locked the door. We waited. An hour later, my father came back. Ethan was with him, pale, shaking, eyes wide and glassy. He wouldn't talk, not that night, not the next day. It took 3 days before he finally spoke. He said he'd been walking when he felt something following him. Not behind him, above him, moving through the trees, branch to branch, fast. He tried to run, but it stayed with him, always just out of sight. And then it dropped down in front of him, landed on all fours, stood up, tall, too tall, arms too long, face. He wouldn't describe the face. He just said, it smiled at me. My father had found him curled up at the base of a tree, crying. Whatever it was gone by then. But the branches above Ethan were snapped, claw marks gouged deep into the bark. Ethan left the next morning, went back to the city. We never saw him again. But my mother told me later, some things in the mountains don't like to be disrespected, and they don't forget. Could you trust your own eyes in the dark? Or would fear blind you? When I was 12, my best friend Sarah and I used to explore the old logging roads that crisscrossed the ridges above town. They were abandoned, overgrown. Most people avoided them. But we were kids. Invincible. Stupid. One Saturday in June, we packed sandwiches and water and set off toward Raven's Ridge. It was a 6-mile hike. The day was hot, and the air hummed with cicadas. We laughed and talked and didn't think about the time. By the time we reached the ridge, the sun was low. Golden light filtered through the trees. We sat on a fallen log and ate our sandwiches. And that's when Sarah pointed. What's that? Down the slope, maybe 50 yards away, there was a house. Small, old, tin roof rusted red. But the strange thing was, we'd never seen it before, and we'd been on that ridge a dozen times. Let's check it out, Sarah said. I didn't want to. Something about it felt wrong, but I didn't want to seem scared. So we climbed down. The house was older than it looked from above. The wood was gray and splintered. The windows were intact but filthy, covered in grime. The front door hung open. Just a crack, and from inside, we heard music. Not a radio, not a record, someone humming, slow and soft. Sarah looked at me. Someone lives here. Let's go, I said. But she was already walking toward the door. I followed, because what else could I do? She pushed the door open. It creaked. The humming stopped. The inside was dark. One room, a bed in the corner, a table, a chair, and sitting in that chair, a woman. Old. So old her skin looked like paper. She was facing away from us, hands folded in her lap. Hello, Sarah said. The woman didn't move. Sarah stepped inside. I stayed in the doorway, every instinct screaming at me to run. Are you okay? Sarah asked. Slowly, the woman turned her head. Not her body, just her head. Too far, like an owl. And when she looked at us, her eyes were black, completely black. No whites, no color, just empty. She smiled, and in a voice like dry leaves, she said, You shouldn't be here. I grabbed Sarah's arm and pulled her out. We ran, down the slope, through the trees. We didn't stop until we hit the main road. When we looked back, the house was gone. Just trees, just shadows. We never told anyone. Who would believe us? But here's the thing. 3 years later, I found an old newspaper article in the library about a woman who'd lived on Raven's Ridge in the 1920s. A hermit. People said she practiced old magic. Dark things. She disappeared one winter. They found her house empty, but locals swore they still saw her sometimes, walking the ridge at dusk. The article included a photo. It was her, the woman in the chair, the woman with black eyes. Do you think we imagined it? Or did something follow us home? Tell me below. Before you keep going into the dark with me, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe. Because here at Chills from Reality, the fear doesn't end when the story does. And trust me, you'll want to be here for what comes next. When I was 14, my uncle bought a piece of land at the far end of the valley. 20 acres, mostly woods. He planned to build a cabin, somewhere to hunt, somewhere to get away. He asked me to help clear brush that summer. I needed the money, so I said yes. The land was beautiful. A creek ran through it, deer trails everywhere. But there was one spot, a small clearing maybe 100 yards from the creek. The grass there was dead, brown and brittle, even in summer. Nothing grew, not a single weed. My uncle noticed it too. Strange, he said. Might be contaminated soil. We avoided it, focused on other areas. But one afternoon, I was working alone near the clearing, cutting saplings, and I felt it, a heaviness, like the air had weight. I looked up. There was a man standing in the clearing, watching me. He was tall, thin, wearing old clothes, flannel shirt, work pants. His face was shadowed by a wide-brimmed hat. He didn't move, just stood there. "Hey!" I called out. He didn't respond. I walked closer. This is private property. Still nothing. I got within 20 feet. And then he was gone. Not walked away, not ducked behind a tree, just gone. I ran back to the truck, waited for my uncle. When he got back, I told him what I'd seen. He didn't laugh. He didn't dismiss it. He just nodded. "My neighbor told me about this place," he said. "Said a man used to live here, long time ago. Hanged himself from a tree in that clearing. They cut the tree down, but nothing's grown there since. We finished the work over the next 2 weeks, but I never went near that clearing again, and neither did my uncle. When he finally built the cabin, he built it on the opposite side of the property. Some land remembers, and some things, they don't leave. When I was 16, I started driving, got my license in March. My parents gave me their old truck, a beat-up Ford with a rusted frame and a radio that only picked up AM stations, but it was freedom. And in the mountains, freedom meant night drives on empty roads. On Friday night, I was driving home from a friend's house. It was late, past midnight. The road was narrow, 2 lanes. Trees pressed in on both sides, no street lights, just my headlights cutting through the dark. I was about 3 miles from home when I saw her. A woman, standing on the side of the road, wearing a white dress, her hair long and dark. She was facing away from me, completely still. I slowed down, rolled down my window. "You okay?" I called out. She didn't move. I stopped the truck, put it in park. "Do you need help?" Slowly, she turned around. Her face was pale, so pale it almost glowed. But her eyes, I couldn't see her eyes, just shadows where they should have been. And her mouth, it was open, too wide, like she was screaming, but there was no sound. I froze. She started walking toward the truck. Slow, deliberate. Her feet didn't quite touch the ground. I slammed the truck into drive and floored it. Tires screeched. I looked in the rearview mirror. She was standing in the middle of the road, watching me disappear. I told my father the next morning. He didn't say much, just asked where I'd seen her. When I told him, he nodded. "That road," he said. "A girl died there in the 70s, car accident, wrapped her car around a tree. They say she still walks that stretch, looking for help. Did you ever see her? I asked. He looked at me. Once, when I was about your age. I still drive that road. I have to. It's the only way home. But I don't stop anymore. Not for anyone. When I was 17, my grandfather died. He'd been sick for months. Lung cancer. We all knew it was coming, but it didn't make it easier. The funeral was small. Family only. We buried him in the old cemetery on the hill above town, the one with crooked headstones and moss-covered angels. After the service, my grandmother asked me to stay with her for a few days. She didn't want to be alone in the house. I understood. I said yes. That first night, I slept in my grandfather's old room. It still smelled like him. Tobacco and cedar. The bed creaked when I lay down. The house was quiet. Too quiet. I woke up around 2 a.m. The room was cold, my breath fogged, and I heard footsteps. Slow, heavy, coming from the hallway. I sat up, listened. The footsteps stopped outside the door. The doorknob turned. The door opened. And my grandfather walked in. Not a ghost, not transparent, solid, real. He looked the way he did before the cancer. Healthy, strong. He smiled at me. Thought I'd check on you, he said. I couldn't speak, couldn't move. He walked to the window, looked out at the mountains. It's beautiful here, he said. Always was. Papa, I finally whispered. He turned. I'm okay. You don't need to worry, but you need to take care of her. Your grandmother, she's stronger than she looks, but she'll need you. I blinked, and he was gone. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. In the morning, I told my grandmother what I'd seen. She didn't seem surprised. He came to say goodbye, she said. He always keeps his promises. I don't know if I believe in ghosts, but I know what I saw. And I know that sometimes love doesn't end when the body does. When I was 18, I got a job working nights at a gas station on Route 19. It was the only place open after dark for 30 miles. Truckers, late-night travelers, the occasional local picking up cigarettes or beer. Most nights were quiet, boring even. But there was one regular who made my skin crawl. He'd come in around 3 a.m, always alone, always bought the same thing. A pack of Marlboro Reds and a cup of black coffee. He never spoke, just nodded, paid in cash, left. But his eyes, they were wrong. Pale gray, almost colorless. And when he looked at you, it felt like he was looking through you, past your skin, into something deeper. One night, he came in as usual. I rang him up. He paid, turned to leave, then stopped, looked back at me. You should quit, he said. It was the first time I'd ever heard his voice, low, flat. Excuse me, I said. This place, he said. It's not safe, not anymore. What are you talking about? He didn't answer, just walked out, got in his truck, drove away. I tried to shake it off, told myself he was just weird. But the next night, he didn't come in. Or the night after. Or the night after that. A week later, a state trooper stopped by, asked if I'd seen a man matching the regular's description. I said yes, described him, told them about the last time I saw him. The trooper's face went pale. That man, he said, he's been dead for 3 years. Car accident, right up the road. I quit the next day. I still don't know what he was or why he warned me. But 2 weeks after I left, that gas station burned down. Electrical fire. No one was hurt. But if I'd been working that night, would you have listened to him? Or would you have stayed? When I was 19, I went camping with a group of friends. We hiked into the backcountry, set up tents near a stream. It was late summer. The air warm, the stars bright. We built a fire, told stories, drank cheap beer. It felt like freedom. Around midnight, we heard something moving in the trees, footsteps, branches snapping. We figured it was a deer, maybe a bear. We threw more wood on the fire, stayed close, but the footsteps didn't stop. They circled the camp, slow, deliberate. And then we heard whistling, a tune, old-fashioned, like something from the 40s. "Who's out there?" my friend Jake called out. The whistling stopped. Silence. Then from the darkness, a voice. "You boys having fun?" It was a man's voice, but wrong. Too deep, too smooth. "Show yourself," Jake said. Laughter, low and wet. And then we saw him, standing just beyond the firelight, tall, impossibly tall, his face hidden in shadow, but his eyes, they reflected the fire, like an animal's. "You shouldn't be here," he said. And then he walked away, disappeared into the trees. We packed up, left everything behind, hiked out in the dark. We didn't talk about it. Not then, not later. But we never went back to those woods. Some places belong to something older, something that doesn't want us there. I'm 28 now. I don't live in Appalachia anymore. I moved away for college. Never went back. But the mountains, they stay with you, in your bones, in your dreams, and sometimes, late at night, when the world is quiet, I still hear them calling. Because here's the truth. Growing up in those mountains taught me something. Fear isn't about monsters. It's about understanding how small you are, how old the world is, and how much we don't know. The things we saw weren't evil. They just were. Part of the land, part of the history, and we were just passing through. But some of us, we left marks, and some of those marks, they left us changed. If this story made your heart race, hit that like button and subscribe. Because here at Chills from Reality, the fear doesn't end when the story does. And trust me, there are more stories, more nights, more whispers in the dark. I'll see you in the next one, if you're brave enough to come back. The mountains remember everything, and they never forget.